Hi everyone, welcome to Sky Betting and Gaming's Virtual Careers Spotlight. We'll be getting started in just a couple of minutes. Cheers. Hello everyone and welcome to Sky Betting and Gaming's Virtual Careers Spotlight. I'm sure most of you will already be aware, but for anyone who isn't, we're one of the UK's leading betting and online gaming businesses based out of Yorkshire, with offices in Leeds and Sheffield, as well as an office in Solihull. Our teams design, build and maintain products such as Sky Bet, Sky Vegas, Sky Poker, Sky Bingo and free-to-play play games like Sky Betting Gaming Super 6. Our Virtual Careers Spotlight series will focus on different teams from across the business each week. It's your opportunity to hear from our experts. Some initial housekeeping before I introduce today's speakers. We want this to be an interactive session, so we encourage you to ask questions. Towards the end of the session, I will try and reach out to as many of these as I can. To ask a question, you'll need to be signed into your YouTube account and then simply add your question to the comments section. This session will be recorded, so you'll be able to watch it back at a later date. Today's spotlight is on our Bet iOS engineering team. I'm delighted to be joined by Adam Rush, Andrea Voltaggio, and Today's spotlight is on our Bet iOS engineering team, and I'm delighted to be joined by Adam Rush, Andrea Voltaggio, and Jennifer Munro Brown. How are you doing, guys?
Hello.
Hi. Hi all.
Great little blip there to start the session, but hopefully it'll just get better from now. I'll let you guys introduce yourself first of all. Adam, do you want to start?
Yep. Hi everyone. Adam Rush. I'm the principal engineer in the Bet iOS squad. Just love remote working. Hopefully we'll have no more outages. I'm pretty sure, am I on mute? And can you see me? Is probably the most common phrases being said right now in the team. I've been in the squad or the company even for well over sort of four and a half years, let's say. Kind of spread across contracting to begin with, and then onto a permanent basis here. I kind of look after the tech teams, both squads. I'm sure we'll go into more detail.
Awesome. And Andrea, do you want to go next?
Is he muted?
Yeah, Andrea, you're on mute, mate.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Yeah, sorry, the microphone was just broken. I'm saying I'm Andrea, I come from Italy. I joined the iOS native squad as software engineer last November. This year has been a blast, working remotely, what happened so far. Can't wait to talk more about how's the life for the team right now during this session.
Awesome. And Jen?
Hi everyone, I'm Jen Munro Brown. I'm part of the Tech Academy graduate scheme and work in the iOS native squad.
Awesome. Okay, Adam, we'll start with you. We'll go for a question around the team. So why don't you give us a bit of an overview of the team, current setup, and in your experience, sort of how the way the squad's structured, SPG allows for peak performance, whether there's anything you change.
Yeah, sure. So it's been an interesting period for us, I guess, spreading over sort of 12 to 18 months. We were kind of work as usual, and then we were given a challenge, I guess, from Apple, and then from the business to kind of change how we do things here in terms of mobile, more specifically iOS. So we're on a journey to make the app fully native, which in kind of layman's terms, I guess, is to stop using web technologies and to actually start building out using Apple's components and really tap into the mobile operating system kind of capabilities, the touch gestures and the swipe and that kind of thing. So it was just me and Adriano in the squad sort of 2 years ago, and we're kind of given this challenge, and one of the biggest things we had to do is scale up the team or teams. So we went on a massive hiring spree, and I think we pretty much soaked up most of the iOS talent in Leeds, and we're now 9 engineers across 2 squads, and still growing as well. So we scaled right up, and we've got kind of multiple skill sets that are spread across both squads. So we've got, agile delivery lead across both squads. We have manual and automation testers across both squads. I also sit across both squads as well, looking at kind of the tech strategy and making sure we've got all the kind of right support required technically across both squads. And yeah, we've kind of grown as 2 squads. We're very, very much working collaboration. There's no squad A, squad B. We're working on different things, but there's a lot of collaboration going on. We do a lot of pairing. We have fortnightly kind of dev catch-ups where we share ideas and share the knowledge as well. So, you know, although we are scaling up into multiple squads, it's more about kind of work streams rather than, you know, kind of in silos working. And I guess that's kind of been our goal for mobile in Skybet, is to make sure that we're all kind of aligned and we're all working together as one unit. And I think, you know, that's working really well for us. There's a kind of, you know, we've kind of set the boundaries, I guess, from the top, and then, you know, when it kind of bubbles down into squads, we've got the autonomy to kind of go ahead and do what we think is best. So that's kind of how the squads are set up. And then in terms of kind of working practices, we work in, you know, fortnightly sprints. So we're kind of very agile focused. We have the retrospectives, we have sprint planning, you know, refinement, that kind of thing. So we're trying to, you know, kind of get our processes better every time, and I think we're doing a great job on that, whilst also having the challenge of rebuilding the app kind of inside out to a fully native offering. So yeah, that's kind of a broad overview of what we've got here.
Awesome. Okay, cool. And Andrea, you've been with us for around 9 months now. How has the structure of the team allowed for you to kind of come in, get embedded quickly, and really start to add value? Because obviously it's a new team, a new product for you, but you've hit the ground running straight away.
Yeah, actually, it's been really, how to say, really strange. There's never been like a moment of pause, because when I joined the team, we were still one big team, and we were working with a different approach. We didn't have sprints. We were more working on like a Kanban style of organizing our work. But it was great how immediately, like, the onboarding just worked straight away. Like, everyone was so available to help, to introduce to technology, and also the organization, everyone was collaborating to do stuff. Like, it was the best way that I could imagine to enter into like such a big company with such a big team and with such a product which has millions of users basically every weekend. I have to be honest, I came from a reality where we had a lot of customers, and we also were kind of big team, but the way the products we were working were split, and the type of pressure, which was kind of different, that we had as mobile developers onto how the product used to work, basically weren't enough for me to be sure that I was just going straight in and doing well. So basically there was this kind of fear, like, what am I going to do? Is it going to be good enough? How is going to be introduction? But instead everyone was really great, and the introduction to the software, to the ways of working was great. And also the transition to the way we work now with 2 squads, agile methodology, it was almost flawless, which, to be honest, it was a great surprise for all of us. So yeah, I feel that the kind of communication presence, being one squad, despite being 2 actual squads working on different things, all Adam said, is well put together. Also, the colleagues are great, and we are able to cooperate into each single piece of work. Also, the company helps us a lot, gives us the freedom and the instruments to do our job at best. So it's working great so far. Actually, I can say that I came in last November, and basically in February, I already felt like I was kind of honing the product I was working on, because everything was clear, and we also have a commitment into documenting stuff and communicating if we make a big change, the big changes to the others, so everyone is aware of what's going on. And like, everyone is important, but no one is necessary. Like, we can easily swap each other and always deliver the best we can.
Awesome. And did that come as a surprise to you then? Because you talked about previously, you know, huge app, millions of customers. Were you surprised that you found that you were sort of making those incremental changes and honing the product, as you said, pretty quickly?
Yeah, I was kind of surprised because the previous job I had, we were kind of conservative with some changes because we wanted to avoid disruption. Instead, here at Skybet, we in some way don't fear the way of changes. Like if we know that something makes the product better, makes the app better, we kind of like take the risk to introduce the new stuff. And this is great because as a developer, I feel it gives you like the spicy feeling of doing new stuff, of making your work better or creating new code. If you see something that doesn't work as you wish, you can do it. And from an engineer point of view, instead is a challenge because obviously you need to care, you need to test, you need to be sure that like you don't put the app offline for 2 million customers on a Friday and basically you're making the company lose tons of money, which is a risk. But we like to take risks and we like to take challenges the right way. So that's great. I think it's a good point also for personal growth for each one of us.
Awesome. Okay. And speaking of challenges then, Jen, this is your first full-time tech role, having graduated through our tech academy. Why don't you give us a bit of an insight into sort of your journey through the tech academy and how you found yourself in the team?
Yes, sure. So I joined SDG fresh out of uni, studied business management at uni. And while studying at uni, I did a course called Code First Girls, which is an organisation that helps girls learn CSS, HTML, and JavaScript to create a website. And then off the back of that, SDG actually put on a workshop at Leeds Uni where I learned Ruby and you create a handman game. And that's where I first discovered the Tech Academy. And I also discovered that you didn't have to have a computer science degree to apply. So I decided to apply off the back of that workshop and luckily got accepted onto the scheme. And then since then, I've been working for SDG for 1 year now. So I've been studying part-time for Masters at Sheffield Hallam in software engineering, whilst also learning Swift in the iOS native squad.
Awesome. Okay. And how have you found the transition then, sort of from studying into a full-time iOS engineer role? And what have been the biggest challenges? Because learning code, learning a sort of brand new coding language is not the easiest thing to do, especially when you're working in a team who develop one of the most popular apps in the UK with millions of customers using it all the time.
Yeah, definitely. It has been really challenging, but I'm loving every second. I can pinpoint a few key takeaways I've learned from learning Swift and having my first iOS role that might benefit people that are looking into learning Swift or coming into a role, iOS role. So
yeah, definitely.
My key thing is reach out to other coders. So I mean, by that I mean ask questions, and it doesn't matter if they're silly. I think the only silly question is not asking questions. And the chances are there'll be someone else that is also thinking of that same thing, but they might feel uncomfortable saying it. And then also always ask for help. Like, honestly, people enjoy helping other people, especially here at SDG. So I think that's one of the key reasons I found it so easy. And then, as Adam mentioned, we do a lot of pair programming in the iOS squad. So I think pair programming is a brilliant way to learn from people, and I've really benefited from this since starting. So it not only gets you familiar with the code base, but you also learn the way they approach problems. And then my second key takeaway is just build something that you're interested in. So in terms of app development in your free time, like build an app that you have a particular interest in, if it's a game or and honestly, I've been creating like a fitness workout app in my free time. Still in early stages, but it's just a brilliant way to like try out new features that Apple are releasing. And then my third key takeaway is just the process. You're not going to wake up and be the best programmer in the world. Just immerse yourself in the topic, get exposure of everything, get involved with everything, and it will come with time.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, we'll open up for some questions at the end as well. So if anyone's got any more questions around sort of a journey into the industry or how to get into an iOS engineer role, you guys can ask Jen at the end. But let's get on to the app then, because it's our flagship app. It's frequently one of the most used apps in the UK during peak times of the year. So Adam, why don't you sort of give us some stats or give us a bit of a flavour of that and bring it to life a little bit for people who potentially aren't as familiar with the app as others.
Yeah. So kind of going back to what we're saying originally, initially the app was primarily web. So obviously the kind of company was building out features and parts of the website, which would end up being rolled out into the app. Things have changed massively since then. We're now building these features and places of transact for the business natively. So for example, the bet slip, which takes is our kind of shopping cart, is our kind of place where customers transact, is fully native, and every customer that is placing a bet with us is going through that native component. So in terms of scale, we average about 30,000 new app installs per month, and that's an average. We get peaks throughout the year depending on what's going on in the kind of sporting calendar. To put it in perspective, during Cheltenham, which is a huge horse racing festival, we got 160,000 new app installs, and the festival kind of goes over a week, if that. So 164,000 new customers downloading the app, and then also during Cheltenham, the racing festival, we hit around 800,000 unique sessions in the app on Gold Cup Day. So yeah, we we have a lot of customers using the app, which kind of it's meant. Not only are we building features and parts of the app or the app natively, we've also got to think about the support model. How do we roll out new releases for the app to customers? How do we kind of test new features to certain segments of customers so we know we're kind of shipping the right stuff? We've had to think about on call. Do we need to kind of support this app out in the wild during unsociable hours? So there's a lot more that goes into an app than just writing the code, and that's kind of what journey we've been on. We've kind of been building out all these kind of processes and models. So in terms of the app itself, where we're at, we couldn't do a file new project. The business kind of give us, okay, we need to build this app natively, but we need to do it iteratively. We can't just spend 2 years building out a brand new app and then ship this brand new app to customers. We've got a huge customer base. We've got to test the water and see what works and make sure we build the right product. So the challenge was to convert the app over a period of time. So 18 months ago, we converted the biggest kind of financial part of the app, if you like, which is the bet slip. So that's fully native. We delivered the homepage, so now when we'll launch the app, you're straight into native components, and then the next step is to look at sport homepages. So once you click into football, you go to native, and we're going to keep kind of building out until we're fully native, and that's the kind of journey we're on.
Okay, bro. Andrea, what's the biggest challenge been for you in terms of sort of joining a team that are working on a fully native application? Is that something that you'd worked on in the past, or was it sort of a new challenge?
Well, I used to work only in full native applications before, so it was kind of interesting for me, the idea of rebuilding a lot of functions that basically we inherited from web. into fully native views and components for the app. I think that the most challenging thing is to make the two realities coexist at the same time, because they work in different ways. They update in different ways. So you have to evaluate scripts. You have to work on stuff that sometimes your phone would like to have like injected from an API call just right at the start, but instead you have to wait for the web code to be executed. So it's a new challenge for me, because I basically moved from making games to make native apps of a different natures. I was working with a company which was making app for insurance companies. And so now moving to betting and having like this duality of web and native coexisting is really a new thing. The best part is surely when you need to update frameworks. We had good challenges with Facebook and some other third-party frameworks that we use for our product that had some clashes with iOS 13 and iOS 14. Facebook especially gave us a bad day when there was the big outage that basically made the app crash at startup, and was all the framework's fault. But it's great to experience this type of issues and as a team being responsive to them. Also, all the spikes and researches we do to be sure that we are using the right third-party frameworks and that we use the right type of integration to make web and native coexist. I think this is the most interesting and challenging part of our job, because you can't do a transition in 8 months. You obviously need to follow a path, you need to have a plan, and you need to slowly create the best native version of what you want to propose to your users. So this is great. This involves design, this involves development, this involves APIs, this involves collaboration with platforms. It's literally, it's not just us. It's a big effort and a big collaboration between teams, which goes on. And so every time we got a new feature or a new bit of work ready to be done, it's great, because before that bit of work can be done, there have been many more challenges than the actual developing, in order to fit the feature in the right space and following the right path and architecture. So it's really great. Also to consider that recently Apple is moving its whole operating system architecture with Swift UI and the new features. So before it was mainly MVC focused, but we were still using an MVVM C type of global architecture into our app. Now it's going full MVVM with Swift UI with a different type of handling APIs. So basically, we not only have to handle the transition to native, but also the transition to the new way of developing for iOS. And it's great because I think we're doing a pretty good job into preparing the ground for what's to come in the next couple of years, which sounds really exciting.
Bro, and how's the ethos and team changed, sort of as a result of the changes to the app and the sort of new regulations from the App Store? How's that changed the sort of ways of working, if it has at all, in the team or the ethos across the squad, Adam?
I'd say massively. The company has been very web focused, and I guess rightly so, because if we were started to look back, say 5, maybe even 10 years ago, it was perfectly acceptable to have the web kind of rolled into an iOS and an Android app. But you know what, things are changing. Mobile is becoming so big, so popular. Apps are no longer these small bite-sized chunks on your home screen. They're fully fledged software applications. We've got, I think I checked last time, and we're at something like 100,000 lines of code in the client. We're only touching the surface. They're huge applications now, and so the company's had to kind of change its mindset in terms of apps and iOS and Android, and And that kind of bubbles down to team and squad level. I guess from our perspective, we're quite lucky because a lot of the team we have today were hired with this journey beginning. I mean, some people have joined throughout, but the majority have joined during the beginning of this journey. So we're quite lucky in the fact that everyone's kind of on board with this journey of going native. So it was, but it has changed. It's changed a lot of things.
Brilliant. Okay. And how's that sort of team ethos and those sort of, I guess, new ways of working impacted your start to your career, Jen? How's it sort of impacted sort of how you've been able to take to the new technology and sort of get slotted in within the team? Because you're actually working on the app now and you're actually sort of making influential changes to the code and already in your sort of career. So it must have been impacted by sort of the team around you.
Yeah, I think the iOS native ethos has really helped me pick up so quickly and have the opportunity to develop production code. But I generally think the iOS native ethos is just a testament of the overall SDG culture. I think if you ask anyone around the business what makes SDG special, I think a lot of people will mention the culture that we have. In terms of like the kind of values that we instill, and I think the values that have helped me to grow. So, for instance, I feel like one of the main like key values that we have is that they have a key focus on personal growth and learning, like a learning culture. So I've been given the freedom to learn Swift whilst working at SDG, and there's training courses and workshops for other people as well. So that there's like a thing called Skills Academy where you can learn Kubernetes and you can learn agile methods if you fancy it, and also if you want to get an apprenticeship or a degree in a certain area in management, you can. That's one of the key values that has kind of resonated with me and helped me grow. And then another key value that I really like is the free to be me one. So that's all about flexibility. So for me, SDG has been brilliant in the current times in their response to COVID in terms of how we balance our work and personal life. And they give you the autonomy to manage that yourself. And I think that just brings the best out of everyone, that kind of mutual respect. And in terms of also the kind of willingness to accept people into the graduate scheme that have an art degree is a testament to that they welcome anyone from multiple backgrounds.
Awesome. Okay, Andrea, we'll come on to you because I know this is something that you mentioned you'd be interested to talk about. We obviously store millions of rows of customer data. So what measures are we taking to ensure customers' privacy through the intricacy of the app development, and how big a role does that sort of security piece play in your day-to-day work?
Well, first of all, the great thing is that this company it's really taking seriously what's the privacy of the users, but also the aspects of safer gambling on whatever like concerns people's life. So it's not like just because we offer a service which is gaming and betting, we just care about how much money do we make out of the product. We also care about being respectful of the law of people's privacy, and we do our best to give people like a safe place where to enjoy those games, which is the most important thing. There's been a lot of focus around that, and there's been a lot of focus also in how like we think new features for the app and how we develop the app, like could this help with safer gambling? Could this help with avoiding leaks or problems with code? Has been like recently widespread out there that many apps which look to be safe instead had a lot of problems with like backdoors, or problems because of a framework the developer was using, and then the framework had a problem, and this was opening like for security and privacy issues. Well, inside the company, first of all, we compartmentize this type of things. Like us iOS developers, we don't know anything about like users' data. We just use like the account data in order like for the betting part, for the bet slip, for the bet placement. And at the same time, like there is a lot of focus into when we retrieve, this account number after the user logs in. How do we handle those data? How do we avoid those data like remain cached in a non-secure way? And yes, from this point of view, the team focus and the company focus has always been into following, first of all, what are Apple's guidelines. The operating system gives us a lot of instruments just straight out of the box for like having a secure way for storing user account data or caching, whatever you take from the web. We're also looking into, like, for example, the idea of using the Apple ID for login, but we immediately realized that we already have like a third party as a company, like our own login procedure, which complies with law, which is much bigger and much more secure than those methods. So we didn't need it. And we always kind of explore how to make users' data handling a lot more secure.
Well, okay. And I guess obviously we're working on, you guys are working on an app that sits on someone's phone in their pocket all day and is part of such a intimate, so much more of an intimate device than, say, a web application or a wider sort of bigger system application would be. How much of an impact does that play on sort of the work that you put in day to day with regards to development, the features that you're building, and sort of, I guess, everything else that you're sort of doing throughout your day?
It was me?
Whoever. You can go for it if you want, Andrea.
Yeah, okay. Well, what I think is the phone is an intimate device, and because of this, we always try like to first of all, to not abuse of the phone's capabilities. Like on the phone of persons are stored data like contacts, personal emails, and lots of stuff. And we know for sure that even for the simple advertising purpose out there, there are frameworks or apps which ask for access or implement features in order to exploit access to those data, in order to grab more users, in order to grab more data which could be useful for advertising purposes and make money out of advert. The great thing about our team is that we look at mobile as if it was a personal computer. Like when we look at our app, we look at it as a serious piece of software, not like as a replica of a website where people go to do something. And the biggest focus is on giving like a real proposition, like what the Skybet user wants to do with our app. People want surely to bet on the games, to follow the games, and to be entertained, because betting and gaming is also a meaning of entertainment. Like one thing that surely like saddens us while we work every day is the bad accent that is given to the industry, because obviously there are stories of people who have lost their minds of their lives while playing too much money or betting too much money. But this is not what's our purpose, and this is not just betting. Like for my personal record, like if I think the first time like I placed the bet, I was like 19 years old, and I was just watching the Champions League finals with my friends, and I was like, the underdog is going to win. No, it's not going to win. Yeah, it's going. And we just played, and I was like, okay, I'm betting £2. It's like an insignificant amount of money, but it's just the play that puts you into place the bet. Like it must not have to be significant. It's just the thrill of saying like, okay, let's see if I was right about how this ends. And so from this point of view, we're focusing our product into being a means of entertainment. And when we think about the product, when we think about how intimate the phone is, we try like to exclude everything which might be harmful for the users, and try just to give entertainment and to give it the best way, in the most secure way, and obviously being compliant with what are the regulations and the law here in the UK.
Well, I guess on regulations, we work in a heavily regulated industry, and I guess so. You guys are obviously subject to regulations coming from the gambling regulator, but also from the App Store and the regulations that they are able to set down. How does that impact the way that you guys work? And do you find that you're subject to a lot of change when it comes to building features for the app? And you know, how does that impact, I guess, sort of projects that you've got in the pipeline for the future, or sort of ways of working?
I don't mind taking that. I guess we're quite lucky in the fact that, yes, we are a very regulated industry. Therefore, we also have the relevant teams and skill sets to, you know, handle those regulations and audits and changes and that kind of thing. So I guess we don't deal with the kind of the gambling regulations, you know, like full on, because, you know, we're not experts in that area, but, you know, we certainly get guidance on that stuff. So especially when we were building out the bet slip, we work alongside those teams to make sure that what we are building is compliant. You know, we have kind of HODs and impact assessments which describe the solution that we're going to build, and that goes through those squads as well to make sure that it's compliant and meets the right regulations. And also as well, there's certain rules, like if we're making significant changes to the way people transact, then that also has to go to the Gambling Commission to approve and make sure it's safe for customers. So I guess from a squad level perspective for us, we don't really deal with it that much, but, you know, we have the right kind of people around us to make sure we're doing it right. And your second question, second point was around the iOS rules, and I guess they're not really regulations because, you know, it's the Apple App Store. They're not like, you know, inscribed in law, but, you know, it is their platform. It is their the e-commerce platform that we want to distribute our app on. So, you know, we do have to follow the rules there. So yeah, we've got to be cutting edge. We've got to, not only are we rebuilding this app natively, but we've also got to keep up with iOS 14, which is you know, weeks, if not days around the corner. We've then got to prep for iOS 15 and so on. And not only that, we have new devices coming around the corner. You know, iPhone 12 is soon to be here, and they also give us various challenges. So yeah, we kind of get it from all angles, really. We've got to be on the forefront and ready to kind of adapt and change and prepare, really.
Awesome. I'll ask one more question and then we'll go into some questions from the audience, because we've got quite a few on a list now waiting. Big question, open to anyone. What does the future of the Skybet app look like? And I guess in turn, how does that fit into, I guess, the future of mobile applications in general? From your perspective, of course. I'm not asking for any secret information that you may be privy to.
Who wants to take that? I think we could all give a few minutes spin on that. So I guess for me, I think, you know, in a year to 2 years' time, we'll have a very almost fully native app. We're going to have lots of cool gestures within the app. We're working on some really, really cool features that's going to really set us apart in the industry alone. We're completely ahead of the curve with this stuff. So for me, yeah, we're going to be a fully native app, and then we're going to get to the point where we can just keep iterating on that product, introducing all the new capabilities that Apple give us. And I think we're going to be ahead of the curve on that.
From a point of view, is going to be a really sleek future. Like we already know where Apple is pointing with the evolution of the operating system, and we also know that the mobile industry has never stopped for the last like 12 years or so. So we're going to have like a new period, like it was in the year 2000, where the networking was evolving, the display was brighter, but from a core point of view, the device is fundamentally the same. So at that point, the focus would be entirely on software. And this would be like the moment where us as developer will have the chance to make more iterations and to create more features, which are not like Apple driven or Android driven, but literally something where we're going to put some innovation out of our minds. So I think that we're going to have a future which is a mixture of faster devices, at the same time more space for creativity for us, because the industry as a whole is going to have like a stop. Like there's not going to be the new Face ID or something groundbreaking like that. There's just going to be a new faster iPhone, and we're going to have like literally a white table when we can write our own story as developers. So that sounds exciting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, should we? Do you want to go for it, Jen, as well?
Oh, I'm just going to repeat kind of what Adam said, fully native app, and maybe use a bit of Swift UI in the future.
Awesome. Well, that leads us nicely onto the first question then, actually, regarding Swift UI. So this one's from Victor. He says, hi, everybody. I'd like to ask if you guys prefer to develop storyboards or Swift UI.
Well, that's not the normal question of storyboards versus programmatic layouts, is it?
Yeah.
Go on, Andrea. What do you prefer?
I come from games, so I prefer programmatic all the way. I honestly prefer Swift UI because the way Apple is implementing it lets you focus more on doing actual code rather than fighting with constraints and the user interface, which can get buggy in order like to set up your view and your UI layout. I also think it's great the instruments that Swift UI gives, like the previews with the canvas, where you can actually see what you're writing on code. So it's much more immediate. I personally had the chance, like with the company hackathon, was like at the end of July, and we had the chance with a couple of colleagues, like to do as a challenge how much we can rewrite our UI, like in a day. And stuff that I worked on for like 2 weeks were kinda moving in 7 hours of work. So it's really powerful. So I'm interested now as Swift UI evolves and gets supported, because for me it's the bright future of developing on iOS.
And what about Combine? Because I've had someone ask a question about Combine as well, whether that's a new technology that we're interested in as well.
I guess the thing that obviously is restricting us right now is the fact that it's iOS 13 and above. So we have a huge user base. So we also have a huge range of OS supports on supported OS on there. So yes, we will certainly be looking to adopt Swift UI and probably Combine. I think it suits our architecture really well. Like Andrea mentioned earlier, we've having this knowledge in mind, we've kind of architected what we're doing now so that we can evolve into that later down the line. But we're completely tied by the amount of customers we've got. But I think it's a great thing, because it means we can do hackathons, we can build proof of concepts and spikes and stuff like that with this new technology, so that we can get really good at it. And then once Apple evolves with Swift UI, because it's still early days. I've wrote endless amounts of tutorials on it now, and it breaks. I mean, within a week they rewrote some of the APIs, and So it's still very early days. We will adopt it, but I think probably in another 12 months.
Awesome. Okay. Do you guys have any recommendations for alternatives to the core data framework for lightweight model layers?
Adam, go for it.
It's funny this question gets asked because I also I wrote something about this. There's you can actually tap into the C++ SQLite framework for this. So there's a Coca framework under the hood that you can tap into, which is just a raw SQLite database. I'll ping you a link to it. But I mean, in terms of that's kind of lightweight. I mean, everything else, right? I mean, if you look at Realm, for example, that you're going to be importing a huge framework, core data. They are, I guess, big, but with the SQLite stuff, you've got to build it all. You don't get all the nice stuff that core data gives you. But yeah, I guess weighing up those options. I don't know if any Jen or Andre, you've got anything to add on that, or any experiences?
Well, what I think is that the answer doesn't surprise me, and not even the question, because I got some bad experiences with core data in the past. Like sometimes, depending on if you do like a model migration or how much data do you handle, it can get quite buggy, and you need to have some sort of background code which helps you with dealing with those issues. Also, in the community, it's pretty known that there are a lot of patches and stuff the developers do in order to make core data more reliable sometimes. But I also think that Apple has evolved the way it handles data sources for its views. And it wouldn't surprise me that if in the next year, core data is going to take a bigger role in order to be more friendly with the new ways of handling data in iOS. Core data is also pretty old and written in Objective-C, so it surely needs to be moderned up. I saw there are a lot of people use Realm because it's kind of like you drop it in and gives you a full database capabilities if you don't like the object way that core data uses to handle persistence. But like what Adam said, I really agree with him. There are lots of alternatives, and I think that focusing all in one way of handling your persistence sometimes might be counterproductive, because depending on what app do you do, you might have a great deal with persistence, or you might have a smaller deal with persistence, and sometimes you just don't need all the power that core data gives to you, or you don't need all the power of a fully fledged SQL database. So it depends from case to case. Surely, if dealing with core data is like an hassle, I will try the SQLite approach if you need a proper database, or I would give a look to Realm, which works pretty well on my experience and gives you a lot of power.
Awesome. Cheers, mate. We've got a question that was sent in before the recording started, and it was for someone looking to move into an iOS role for the first time. What advice would you have in terms of any communities, events, reading lists, or any other resources to help that person with the transition into the new role? Probably a good one for you, Jen.
Oh, yeah. In terms of online resources, there's a thing called 100 Days Hacking with Swift, and you do a little bit of mobile development each day, and that's quite a nice way to ease yourself into the fundamentals of Swift without overwhelming yourselves. And then there's just a massive community online. I know Adam Rush does a lot of courses for Swift as well, so you might want to add to that as well. But I think just build things, get yourself familiar with Xcode and the language, and try and develop a project that you're passionate about. and then the whole community is available online through Stack Overflow. And if you know any other coders, just message them on LinkedIn, and most people would be happy to help.
Brilliant. Okay. We've got a couple of questions that are relatively similar, so I'm going to try and wrap them into one in the interest of time. In the journey towards going fully native, was there anything that was particularly challenging in terms of the transition to native? And can you offer any advice or practices that have helped you and could help other teams that are looking to do this type of transition from mainly web-based to more native apps? So what was really hard and how did you go about it, basically?
It's a really good question. I guess there was two things that we had to. I guess the biggest challenge we had is that we couldn't file new projects. I mean, if we could file new projects, then we'd be just building a greenfield app. Because we wasn't file new projecting, we had to really sit down and think about the architecture. I mean, we spent probably weeks, if not a month or two, honestly architecting what this app is going to look like and what the evolution of this app is going to look like. And Andrea and Jen will tell you, we've got it all documented because it was really, really important we got that part absolutely bang on, because we've got to evolve the app to introduce native screens within the app. So we just simply can't get that bit wrong. So we had to really sit down and think about it. So I guess, yeah, my number one thing that we've done that I would say is worked really well for us is sitting down, thinking about the architecture, the design, and yeah, just taking the time out to do that. Biggest challenge, I would say, is the reliance on other squads and other dependencies. So we're building this app native, which means we need data, we need APIs. We're so reliant on other parts of the business. So that's probably been the biggest challenge for us is making sure that other squads are aligned. They're also going to be delivering what meets our requirements and things like that. So yeah, that's probably been the biggest challenge for us is getting that lined up. But we're well on the way now of getting those in place.
Brilliant. What are you guys most excited about on iOS 14?
Widgets.
I'm more excited at the changes that Apple made to some frameworks, like all the additions to Swift UI are pretty exciting. Like you can really take advantage of the speed of the new operating system if you migrate to those new components. Because I think that the big, I don't know if the others agree with me, but the big issue of the year one with Swift UI was that for a lot of stuff, you needed to wrap your UI kit components into Swift components because not all of the views were ready to use. So you didn't have the same subset of tools that you would have with UI kit on Swift UI. And this year, Apple made a lot of additions and also fixed a lot of strange quirks in some of the Swift UI methods and calls, and now it's really, really faster, and you can really build a complete app without too many compromises. So I'm really excited about that.
Cool.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think iOS 14 has been stability. I think Apple have spent so much time in fixing bugs in iOS 13. So it was very much a good thing to see that this year was full of stability. I think app clips are interesting. I think it's going to be another iBeacon. Yeah. I think it's either going to fly or die. I thought iBeacons were going to be revolutionary. I thought they're going to be in every kind of retail shop. They never really took off that much. And I'm kind of feeling the same with app clips. I think they're either going to be everywhere and everyone's going to use them, or they might just grow and then go quiet. But I'm hoping they'll I'm hoping they'll take off.
Bro, we've got one last question. We've got a minute to go, so I'll jump into it quickly. Josh says, hey, with iOS apps being able to run on Mac OS in the future, will you be looking to adopt this OS? And if so, what changes are you looking forward to implementing?
This is a question for Andrea. Has he frozen?
Well, no. Well, it's interesting because it's not going to be without here. The next iteration, Big Sur, is going to be time to actually the first year release is not going to be a flawless passage, especially because it requires also like to see where our
I think we've lost Andrea.
I think we have.
Anyone else want to pick up the question until he comes back in?
Well, one thing we have done is we've turned off the app on the Mac App Store. So as people will know, if they develop on Apple, that they give you a tick box in App Store Connect to say this app's going to be available on the Mac OS store. We've turned it off just because we want to make sure that the product is right on the Mac. But you know what, we've got developer transition kits where we will be looking at the Mac, but you know, we're going to try and focus on iOS to begin with. But there's no reason why this product couldn't be on the Mac eventually.
Awesome. Well, I think we'll wrap up there, guys. Thanks everyone for putting up with our technical difficulties, and I hope you found the spotlight informative. We'll have a couple of links to some of the tutorials that Adam mentioned throughout the talk that we'll leave in the comments after the stream finishes. But thanks everyone for tuning in, and enjoy the rest of your week.
Thanks all.
Yeah.